What's up and how are you doing? Welcome back to my live stream. And my name is Abdul Aleem. I am a British Council certified trainer for IELTS. Well, so I hope you guys are doing well. And as you know, my name is Abdul Aleem and I am a British Council certified trainer for IELTS. So in today's live stream, I just wanted to talk about a few tips so that it can help you to get good band scores no matter you take up a training or you don't. That is, if you self prepare yourself for IELTS. Ever since the pandemic, there have been a lot of restrictions, especially here in India. British Council has not been conducting IELTS test um, for the past few months. However, IDP had got started with conducting the test, I think ever since June. I'm talking about in India. However, there are different organizations, especially in the US, for example, which is IELTS.org, which has been conducting. I don't think it has been conducting for the past few months or in the past few months. However, the things are getting relaxed now. Most of the countries are getting unlocked, and obviously, you would be willing to write. And I know that most of the people who have been aspiring to migrate to Canada or Australia or have been willing to go to the English speaking countries, especially in the West, have been waiting to write IELTS academic as well for the sake of pursuing higher studies. So things are getting unlocked. I mean, these countries are. So I'm sure that you guys have been preparing well. In today's live stream, I would want to talk about something related to IELTS speaking. Now, in IELTS speaking, there are a lot of people who get very anxious and very nervous. They think that it's an interview, but it is not an interview, guys. I would want to talk about this reason, or the reasons between why or what are the differences between IELTS speaking test and a normal interview. In an interview, not just your communication skills, however, your wit and wisdom, your presence of mind, your managerial skills, if at all you're applying for a managerial position, and apart from that, your domain knowledge. If you're applying for in the stream of finance and accounts, then that would be gauged. If you are, somewhere from the science or biotech, for example, background, that domain knowledge also would be gauged. But here in IELTS, in the speaking test, you wouldn't find anybody else other than yourself and the assessor sitting quite opposite to you on the other side of the table. So just treat it as now here in India, mostly the assessors are quite elderly people, elderly and quite respectful, and they take respect and they give respect too. So they are very, very professional as well. So they would take your assessment or the speaking test, you can call it as. Over there, guys, there's just one thing. There's just one thing which they check in you, that is your communication skills. That is nothing but your English skills. Now, precisely, they would check your grammar and your pronunciation, apart from checking your vocabulary as well as your cohesion and coherence. Now, not many people would know what is coherence and cohesion. I'll talk about that a little later. So these are the four parameters on which your English speaking skills would be gauged. And just want to give you one tip, guys, whenever you go for IELTS speaking test, which would be conducted on a different day. For those who do not know anything about IELTS, you would have to write four tests within IELTS itself: listening, reading, writing, and speaking. That is something which I had told in the previous live stream about 4 or 5 days ago. So when you write speaking, I mean, when you write speaking, when you go for a speaking test, it would be most probably on a different day other than the day on which you would book your slot. So, for example, if you book your slot on 15th of September, that would be, it's very, very likely, it's like 99%, 99.99% likely that you would be, not likely, but that's the day when you would be undergoing the listening, reading, and writing test. Speaking test may or may not be conducted, and in most of the cases in India, it would be conducted on a different day, and you would be informed. So it's like a 2 day business. So IELTS is on one day you would go for speaking test, and on the other day you would go for listening, reading, and writing. because for speaking, they would have to conduct the test individually. They cannot conduct a session for group and start asking questions in a group, right? It's going to be one-on-one business. So you would have to undergo different, you would have to respond to different questions. I'll talk about that now. In IELTS speaking, by the way, now the tests or the modules are divided into different parts or different sections. IELTS speaking also has different sections. There are three different sections. In the first section, they would ask you about 5 to 6 questions, very, very generic questions. Initially, they would ask you about yourself. They would ask you your name. They would ask you to give you or show your passport. You would do that. After you do that, they would ask you a few questions on yourself, on your candidature, your name to get started with, and then where do you stay, where do you come from, where you hail from, that is, and then what do you do? Are you a student or are you a working professional? And then they might ask you 1 or 2 questions related to your um, studentship or your job. They might, if you're a working professional, for example, they might ask you as to what you do and what's the best thing that you like about your job. And you've got to give some reasons as to why you love your job. Okay. They might also ask you about something negative about that. Now, that said, apart from that, they might ask you other 4 or 5 questions, or maybe by max 5 to 6 questions related to some other topic. For example, something which is related to you. These are called as familiar topics, familiar questions. They might ask you something about your favorite color. Now, 4 to 5 or 5 to 6 questions on this topic itself. They would not keep on changing the topics. However, few of my students have reported to me stating that they were asked a lot of questions. Yeah, and that actually happens, guys, when you respond to very, very briefly. So it's very important that you speak for about 35 to 45 seconds in the first section. Your answer should be quite long enough, not so long enough that you start or you give an impression to the assessor that you have started giving a speech. No, you shouldn't force them to stop you. Just respond to the question in a way that you can sum it up between 35 to 45 seconds. Okay, technically, it might be a few seconds. You don't literally have to have a counter in your hands, or you don't have to wear a wristwatch. You cannot wear a wristwatch, by the way. Yeah, they would ask you to leave it in the locker before you enter the speaking test room. So, anyways, but practice. If you're practicing it, practice in such a way that you respond to. For example, what's your favorite color? So you just don't say if you like blue. You just don't say my favorite color is blue and then end it up there. Give reasons as to why do you love it as well. Okay, and then obviously they would ask you other questions. For example, are the walls in your room painted in your favorite color? You've got to give reasons why or why not. Yeah, so you can say, yeah, my have painted literally the walls in my room in blue because it really brings me a lot of relaxation and so on. Or you can say no. Even if you say no, you have to give reasons. And remember, guys, the other tip for the day is that no matter what you say, you may respond to positively or you might respond to negatively. You might say, yes, the paints or the walls are painted in blue, or you can say, no, it is not painted in the favorite color of mine. Yeah. But whatever you say, you have to give reasons. Reasoning is very important. Always follow this ARE rule whenever a question is asked to you in the first section or in the third section. I'll talk about the second and third sections in the upcoming few minutes. But in the first and the third sections, whatever you respond to, ensure that you follow this rule. This would help you to frame very good answers and also helps you to speak for about 35 or 45 seconds, whatever. What is that ARE rule? A is acknowledge it. If they ask you any close-ended questions, which you can respond with a yes or a no, do that, say that, and then give that is your acknowledgement, okay? And then give reasons. That is R. A is acknowledgement. R is reasoning. Give, say whatever it is. You like this color. Why do you like it? Okay, so give reasons and then give examples as well. Okay, for example, if they ask you about something related to your favorite dish, why do you love that particular favorite dish, which is favorite to you? Give reasons and try to give some examples as well, which relates to your answer. Okay, so maybe in the upcoming sessions, I just want to talk about IELTS speaking test. Wanted to take a couple of questions as well if you guys had, but there are no questions as yet. So just want to continue talking about the other two sections too. However, in the days to come, maybe I might take few questions and try to respond to them live to you so that you can get a very fair idea as to how to respond to and how to utilize this ARE rule when you speak as well. Then after this, right after that, you would move on to section number two. In the section two, the assessor would give you a cue card. Now, in a cue card, there would be a question, a scenario-based question, followed by three to four bullet points below that. For example, they might ask you to talk about someone who does something very well. Or you might be told to talk about a house of a particular person whom you know. Okay, so if this is the question, now below that they might also few bullet points or the points which can help you to do better in terms of speaking, to come up with more ideas, to come up with more sentences and thought processes can be turned into words. You can literally do that. For example, if the question is talk about a house which is owned by someone whom you know. Below that, there would be the first bullet point. Where is this house? Second point, who owns it? Third point, what do you like or dislike in it? Fourth point, talk about, say, if you would like to own such a kind of house or not. Okay, so that is something you would have to, first of all, you would read the question. The assessor wouldn't read for you. You would have to read it by yourself. At the same time, they would also give you a palm-sized paper and a pen or a pencil so that you can make notes. For you to prepare on this cue card, they would give you 1 minute's time. It is not necessary for you to make notes. If you wish to, you can. Okay, and I would advise you guys to not to write a lot. Don't write sentence. How much would you be able to write in 1 minute's time? How much can a person be able to write in 1 minute's time? And at the same time, okay, let's even presume that you have written something. You would start reading that, and that sounds very, very artificial as well. So you would have to speak there. You don't have to read. But on the other side, you wouldn't be able to write a lot in just 1 minute's time, 60 seconds. How much will you be able to write? Yeah, nothing much, right? So rather than making lengthy sentences, just write for example, whose house is that? So you can say Uncle John, Uncle Rafiq, whatever, where it is in Amirpet. Okay, so you would be able to frame sentences by your own, and that's what you're supposed to do. Okay, then after that 1 minute's time, preparation time is done, you would be told to start speaking, and you would have to get started right away. You got to be spontaneous. You can't just say, okay, just give me more, some more time to speak on this. No, you would lose your band scores if you do that. So you can get going. Well, I'd like to talk about a house today, which is owned by one of my uncles. His name is Uncle John. Okay, and then you have mentioned whose house it is. Then talk about where it is. What do you like or dislike in that house or about that house? Would you like to own the same kind of a house or not? Yeah, get going in that way and speak for minimum 1 minute, but I would say more than that because the maximum time they would give to you is 2 minutes. And the assessors, and I know the assessors are quite professional, quite humble and kind too. Okay, and in this case, they would tell you don't worry if we stop you after the end of 2 minutes. So guys, you don't have to literally be worried or become anxious or nervous if they stop you at the end of 2 minutes time. That's something that they do because they would have to manage the time as well. For any assessor, just like you guys are working professionals, you have your own targets and everything. So in the same way, the assessors would also have to conduct your speaking test between 11 to 14 minutes. That's the official time which they would have to dedicate because it can be counted through the recorder which they would have. And your actually the assessors do not give you the band scores then and there. There, the assessor means he or she is there to just ask you the questions. At the end of the day, maybe some other day after a few days, couple of days or whatever, or whenever, they would listen to your recording, your audio recording. Your voice gets recorded, not the video recording for sure. So then is when they would give you the band scores. Two people would be listening to your speech, okay, whatever you have spoken, and then they would give you the band scores then. Okay, so that was your, so don't worry about that part. Coming back to the point, second section, that's how you would end it. I would say you, whenever you practice, ensure that you speak on the cue card. Just type on Google IELTS cue cards. You would get lots and lots of cue cards on different websites. So try to practice talking on that for about 1.5 minutes on an average. You can speak for 2 minutes maximum, but I would prefer that you guys speak for more than 1 or 1.25 minutes. Speak for more than 90 seconds. Try to do that whenever you practice, because it's quite natural that when you're nervous, you might speak a little less. Okay, you might speak lesser. So if you practice to speak for about 1.5 minutes every time you practice at home, it is very likely that over there in the test, you might speak for 1 minute 20, 1 minute 15 seconds or something like that, which is still okay. But remember this, sometimes the assessor still remains quiet. If you listen to this, if you don't listen anything from the assessor, okay, or if you face this very, what you call, dead silence, it means that indirectly the assessor wants you to speak more. If the assessors are humble and kind enough, they'll just ask you to say something, okay? They wouldn't be able to speak anything, right? So, but those people, those assessors who are humble and kind enough, they would want you to do that. They do not want you to lose. So they say something out of the actions with their hands, eyes, and other gestures for you to speak more. If they ask you to do that, ensure that you don't give a lot of gap and continue to talk about something. Other tip which I want to give you related to cue card is that the bullet points that I spoke about, that you have to speak on each and every bullet point which is there in the cue card. Okay, you might speak that on that in the same sequence as you would find it on the cue card, or you may not, but it's very vital that you talk about each and every bullet points, failing which you might lose your band scores in the incoherence. All right, and then moving on, after that, they would take back the cue card from you. Okay, the cue card remains with you until you complete the second section. And so would be the pen or the stationery, pen or pencil, whatever, and the paper which they would give you, or the scribbling pad, whatever. That is something that they would take it back once it is, or the second section is done. In the third and the final section, they would ask you a few more questions related to the topic which was asked to you in the cue card. So in the second section, the example which I gave was about talk about a house which is owned by someone whom you know. So in the third section, they might ask you something which is related to this. They might not literally ask more questions related to the house of your uncle, but they might ask you about something related to real estate, properties, renting, owning a house. For example, how easy or difficult it is for you to rent a house in your city. Why? Give reasons. Okay. They might not ask you why by themselves, guys. You would have to imply that, because once you talk about the why aspect related to the question, you are actually giving the reasons. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. I want you guys to respond as well as give reasons. If time permits, if you think that you have responded to your questions within 15 to 20 seconds, you have, by max 20 more seconds to speak on, you can probably give some example as well. Okay, and then they might here in the third section, the final section might ask you about same, about 5 or 6 questions, and then that would be a wrap up. So these questions in the third section are called as abstract questions. Abstract questions means something which is related to the topic which is asked to you in the cue card would be asked to you, but that would not completely or directly or 100% be related to the topic asked to you in the cue card. Somewhere or the other, it would be related, but this is not an extension to the second section. That's what I mean when I say that. So I hope you got a very fair understanding of what IELTS speaking test is all about. However, at the end of the live stream now, I would want to talk about or want to give you some tips and tricks so that you guys can do better. Firstly, guys, practice as much as you can. Okay, speak, 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 and speak, and speak, and speak, and speak, speak as much as you can. If you don't have any speaking partner, okay, you can stand in front of the mirror and talk to yourself. Speaking is very vital, and getting out of that anxiety, out of that feel that, oh no, I cannot do that. It's not Mount Everest, guys, that you have to climb in 15, 14 minutes or 11 minutes, whatever. Yeah, you can still do it. Practice it as much as you can. Take up a training if you wish to, okay, but I'm literally not, you can definitely, I am trying to reach out to as many people as possible. If somebody takes my training, that is a different thing, but this video especially was, I try to reach out to you so that I can give you some tips and tricks as well. Then talking about other aspects, watch out for your grammar. Okay, if somebody can help you, it would be great. If you wish to take up a training, that can also be helpful. But somebody should be there to help you out. If you can yourself figure out what sort of mistake you're making in grammar, what sort of mistakes do people make primarily when they speak? They make mistakes grammatically, they make mistakes in subject verb agreement, in the usage of tenses, in the inappropriate usage of prepositions. They may use or overuse articles, and where they are not supposed to use, where they are supposed to omit articles, they would not do that. They would use it where it is required, right? So these are sort of mistakes. People also make mistakes with the word order. They might also make mistakes in the usage of collocations. Yeah, so these are the aspects where you might go wrong in grammar in IELTS when you speak. And then you also have pronunciation. Yeah, people might not pronounce properly. Um, so it's very vital for you to watch out for your grammar and your pronunciation as well. Talking about coherence and cohesion, I already, as a matter of fact, I have spoken about coherence. Coherence is nothing but how you frame your answers. Okay, you may not give examples, or you need not, or should not give examples first and then acknowledge later and then give reasons later on, right? First comes the acknowledgement, then comes the reasoning. So how you frame your answer is nothing but your coherence, and cohesion is nothing but how you link one sentence with the other sentence, with the preceding sentences, and by doing that, you should use conjunctions. Okay, you can use cohesive devices. Type cohesive devices on Google. You'll get a list of cohesive devices which you can use in the middle of the sentences while you speak. Finally, talking about vocabulary. Now, it's a very broad subject. Vocabulary is a very broad subject. When I say vocabulary, you can enhance your vocabulary by using tier 3 words, tough vocabulary, academic English. And then you can also use a few figures of speech. Okay, just type figures of speech and use that. You can also use idioms when you speak. Okay, that would literally polish your English vocabulary. And in IELTS, it's called as lexical resource. That would be very, very helpful to you when you speak in IELTS. Apart from that, guys, it's very vital that you don't repeat the same word which you might have already spoken few seconds ago. For example, if you were going somewhere, going to Delhi, I was going to Delhi. So don't say going to Delhi, going. I was heading to, I was on the way. So you can use different words to express, and that's how you prove that you have hold when or you can use a range of words. Yeah, apart from that, talking about coming back to grammar, a point I want to share with you, use lengthy sentences. Okay, now on my page, Englishly, I have posted a few pics, and that talks about the sentences that you can use in IELTS. Do not use very short sentence or do not speak very precisely or briefly. I want you guys to speak as much as you can and use lengthy sentences. Use compound sentence or sorry, complex sentence or compound complex sentences, lengthy sentences, and that will be helpful for you as well. Never ever try to speak very briefly. All right. So that was about IELTS speaking test, and hopefully I would come up with a few more topics, interesting topics, try to help you out in whichever ways I can. Maybe I might also come up with some topic related to IELTS writing in the days to come, because there are a lot of people who get stuck at 6 or 6.5 in writing, whereas they might get good band scores in the rest of the modules. So that's also literally a pain for people who are aspiring to go to Canada or Australia, whatever, mostly Canada. Anyways, that is pretty much it for the day. Thank you so much, guys, for viewing or watching my video. Please ensure that you like my page, Englishly. You can also visit my website, www.englishly.info. And just in case if you wish to take up my IELTS training, I'm a British Council certified trainer for IELTS. I am about to get started with my training on coming Wednesday, and that's going to be 16th of September. The timings are 9 to 10 p.m. IST. You can take a look at the website for more details on the training which I render. Thank you so much for joining, guys. Take care. Bye bye.